folks, welcome back. The Lord of the Ring, back to review another classic event. I can't call this one a pay-per-view because it wasn't. We'll get into that in a second. Last episode, I did something new. I went to the land of NXT to cover NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. Had a lot of fun with that one. And this episode, we're staying right there. We're staying in NXT. We're going to be covering NXT Halloween Havoc 2020. Now, Halloween Havoc was a WCW staple that started in 1989. It ran every year as a pay-per-view in October until WCW folded. At NXT TakeOver 31 on October 4th, 2020, a promo was shown for Halloween Havoc announcing that it's back for the first time in 20 years on October 28th. It was a cool spot that captured the Halloween atmosphere perfectly, and it featured Shotzi Blackheart, who would serve as host of the event. This event would not be a pay-per-view. It would be a weekly special. So one of the weekly episodes of NXT on the USA Network would serve as Halloween Havoc. What does that mean? It means a little bit of a smaller card, so not as many matches. It means some commercial breaks, but that's fine. I think it worked very well. They pulled it off. So let's get into what the card actually looked like. One of the matches on the card was Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest. Earlier in the year, back in July, Keith Lee won the NXT title, so he relinquished the North American title. Then at NXT TakeOver 30, Damian Priest defeated Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, Johnny Gargano, and Velveteen Dream in a 5-way ladder match to win the vacant title. Gargano would win the number one contender spot, which means that he got to face Damian Priest at TakeOver 31, which would take place on October 4th. On the 923 episode, Gargano attacked Priest after he defeated Austin Theory. And then at TakeOver, like I said, October 4th, Priest would retain the title via pinfall after a very solid match. After Priest retained the title, on the 1014 episode against Dexter Lumis, Gargano would attack Priest again with a chair at the top of the entrance ramp, and this prompted NXT General Manager William Regal to come out and announce that Gargano would face Priest at Halloween Havoc, and Shotzi Blackheart announced that the match would, along with Candice LeRae's match, the stipulations would be determined by Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal, which, that's awesome. Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal is a Halloween Havoc original. It was first introduced at WCW Halloween Havoc 1992 to determine the stipulation for a match between Sting and Jake the Snake Roberts. Next match on the card, we've got Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas. At TakeOver 31, Santos Escobar had a match against Isaiah Swerve Scott for the Cruiserweight title, and during the match, the other Legado del Fantasma members distracted Swerve and were chased off by Ashante the Adonis, and Escobar got the win. Jake Atlas had a match against Adonis on the 1014 episode of NXT, and after the match, Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza, they attacked Adonis after the match until Atlas helped even the score. Then when Escobar came out, Swerve Scott got in the fold, making it 3-on-3 on each side for a stare down. On the 1021 episode, the 6 men would face off in a 6-man tag match, which Legado del Fantasma would win. So it's only natural for the 2 men to have a one-on-one match. Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes. After Cameron Grimes was set to face a jobber on the 930 episode of NXT, Ridge Holland came out and attacked him. Later in the show, Grimes was whining backstage looking for NXT GM William Regal when he turned a corner and was face-to-face with Dexter Lumis. Dexter didn't say a word, as is normal with him, and Grimes called him a freak and walked off. Then on the 10-7 episode, Dexter Lumis would defeat Austin Theory, but was attacked by Grimes after the match. On the 10-14 episode the next week, Dexter Lumis had a match against North American champ Damian Priest for the title, but Grimes would attack Lumis during the match behind the ref's back, and Priest would retain the title. On the October 21st episode, the match was made official in that it would be a Haunted House of Terror match at Halloween Havoc. Grimes got the news backstage and looked terrified and stuttered while Dexter looked on from behind a closed door. Entertaining segment, honestly, and is a good way to head into the NXT special. Next match, 4th match, Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez. On the September 23rd episode of NXT, there was a battle royal to determine the number 1 contender for the NXT women's title. Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez got tangled up together in the ropes, and they eliminated each other, and then they continued fighting on the floor. Then on the 930 episode, Raquel was at ringside supporting Dakota Kai in her match when Rhea attacked her from behind. On the October 7th episode of NXT, Rhea was attacked by Raquel, and Regal would make a tag match between Rhea Ripley and Ember Moon versus Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai, which Ember and Rhea would win. On the October 14th episode, Raquel was cutting a promo backstage calling out Rhea for a match at Halloween Havoc when Rhea showed up, and they had a shouting match before being separated. Then later in the show, Raquel would take out Casey Canizaro, Caden Carter, and Xia Li to make herself look strong heading into Halloween Havoc. Main event, Io Shirai won the NXT Women's title at TakeOver in Your House on June 7th. Candice LeRae won a Battle Royal on the 923 episode of NXT to become the number one contender for the women's title, so she's going to face Io Shirai at TakeOver 31. LeRae and her husband Johnny Gargano, they interrupted Shirai's backstage interview later in the show on 923, and Damian Priest attacked Gargano, getting revenge for being attacked earlier. So Candice and Johnny's storylines were pretty much merged right here as they're doing the Gargano husband and wife gimmick, which is not a gimmick. They really are married, but still, their storylines in wrestling were blurred at this time. So later in that show, Priest and Shirai would team together against Candice and Johnny on the 930 episode, I should say, and the Garganos would get the win. Candice attacked Io after the match and hit a backstabber. Then Johnny grabbed Io's title and presented it to Candice, and they posed in the ring as the show went off the air. At TakeOver 31, a video package played with Candice saying that she's doing things the Gargano way, which basically means that all that matters to her and Johnny is the gold. During their match, the ref took a bump, so Johnny Gargano ran out wearing a referee shirt and tried to counter pinfall for Candice, but Io kicked out. That was kind of funny. Then he grabbed the belt and tossed it to Candice while the real ref got back to his feet too and kicked him out. Told him to get back. Candice nailed Io, but she kicked out again, and Shirai would end up hitting her with a moonsault and getting the win. After the match, Toni Storm came on the Tron, I should say, and announced that she's back in NXT. And then Ember Moon made a surprise return. It was kind of a weird segment. She rode in on a motorcycle with like a drone, Metal Gear Solid looking drone camera following her, walked out to the entrance ramp, took a motorcycle helmet off, and it's Ember Moon. It's kind of weird. But it looks like the women's division is definitely beefing up. But they still ended up doing a rematch of TakeOver 31 at Halloween Havoc. Okay. How'd we get there? So on the next episode of NXT on October 7th, Ember cut one of the worst promos imaginable, saying that she wants gold, and Io came out. But before she said anything, she was immediately attacked by Raquel Gonzalez, like I mentioned before, so it was really pointless for that segment to involve Io at all. On October 14th, Candice would face Shotzi for the number one contender spot in a match against Shirai at Halloween Havoc. LeRae would get the win after Indy Hartwell handed Candice some brass knuckles, and LeRae hit Shotzi with them, got the pinfall, so she's headed to Halloween Havoc. I do feel like it's worth mentioning that at TakeOver 31, NXT champion Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly, they had a banger of a match for the NXT championship. Both of them left pretty banged up. Finn actually ended up having to have jaw surgery. After the match, Ridge Holland attacked O'Reilly's Undisputed Era teammate Adam Cole and left him laying. Holland was being booked like a monster during this time, and it appeared that he was next in line for a title shot, perhaps at Halloween Havoc. But on the 10-7 episode of NXT, Holland was dominating Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch when one of them did a crossbody over the top rope, and Holland caught him on the floor, but Holland's leg buckled. He suffered a dislocated ankle, a fractured leg, and a patellar tendon dislocation, and he missed 9 months of action. So that's probably why Balor didn't defend the title against Ridge Holland or anyone else, for that matter, on this show. Something else that's fun, on the 10/21 episode of NXT, so the go-home episode before the special event, Wade Barrett challenged fellow NXT commentator Vic Joseph to a costume contest at Halloween Havoc. So let's get into the show. It's Wednesday, October 28, 2020. We're live on the USA Network from the Capitol Wrestling Center in the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. COVID is still an issue during this time, so this isn't your typical crowd. A very limited amount of fans, friends, and family are in attendance, along with several LED boards featuring fans watching from home. Vic Joseph and Wade Barrett are on commentary in the arena, and Beth Phoenix joins them remotely. The show opens with an awesome video package, 10 out of 10. It was perfect. I mean, it felt like Halloween. The stage design and area setup is also perfect. Just Halloween decor everywhere, complete with a huge inflatable jack-o'-lantern at the top of the entrance ramp. Just incredibly done. Our host Shotzi Blackheart is on the stage dressed very appropriately for the occasion. She has multiple costume changes throughout the night, and she looks great each time. Or maybe she's just dressed like Shotzi. Never can tell with her. But anyway, she's wielding a grinder that's throwing some serious sparks next to the wheel that will be used later for the spin the wheel and make the deal. The North American champion Damian Priest is out first, and he's got live music. A long-haired guy is absolutely shredding on the electric guitar playing Priest's theme. It's pretty cool. Johnny Gargano's out next wearing Nightmare Before Christmas themed gear, and he slices a hole in the pumpkin. Boo this man. Typical. I mean, that's just great heel move right there. Shotzi says it's time, and she spins the wheel. It's a Devil's Playground match for the belt. The bell rings, and Priest quickly attacks Gargano, and Vic Joseph explains the rules. It's basically just a false count anywhere match. Priest keeps control early on until Gargano slips to the outside, pulls Priest to the mat, and then slams his knee on the edge of the apron. Then Gargano sends Priest into the ring steps to buy some time for him to pull out a kendo stick. But Priest is prepared. He pulls out a baton before a commercial break. When we return, we see Gargano launch himself off the stage onto Priest, but then Priest hits Gargano in the ankle with the baton when he tried to kick Priest and then delivered the South of Heaven, but Gargano kicked out at 2. Gargano hit sliced bread on Priest on the steel steps and went for the pin, but Priest kicked out. That was a cool looking spot, honestly. Cool move. The two fight to the backstage area. Gargano dumped a trash can on Priest and had the upper hand before another commercial break. And when we return, Priest has the advantage, and commentary mentions that Gargano went through a wall during the break. Would have been nice to see that. Would have been cool. But we do get to see Gargano brutalize Priest with a metal trash can, though. Several shots there. Priest regains control again, and he was set to hit the Reckoning on Gargano, but a man dressed as Ghostface from Scream attacks Priest with a steel pipe and then hands Gargano a tombstone. Gargano nails Priest with it, sends him flying off the stage, and then pins him for the 3 count. Your new North American champion and first ever 2-time North American champion, Johnny Gargano. This is kind of a weird show compared to what we normally do here. Dave Meltzer only gave a star rating to the last 2 matches on the card, so I got nothing for you here. It was decent, though. I will say that. I'd give it probably 2.25 stars. Match went 21 minutes and 6 seconds. Not bad. We get our first look at our commentary team next, and while Wade Barrett is just dressed in a black suit, Vic is dressed as Waldo from Where's Waldo. Barrett says he's dressed as his favorite superstar, Bad News Barrett, and he pulls out a gavel. Man, I love that gimmick. I miss it. Bad News Barrett was awesome. Barrett says that he's afraid he's got some bad news for Vic because he looks like a moron, and he declares himself the winner of the costume contest. We then see Pat McAfee and the new NXT tag champs, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. And they're on their way to the ring after the break. First, after the break, though, we see Cameron Grimes backstage being terrified, and Regal tells him that a van will be there soon to pick him up for his match. Their exchange was hilarious. It was good stuff. Then the GOAT, Pat McAfee, he's in the ring next, and he cuts a promo on Adam Cole. It's more good stuff. Pat is so good. I love Pat McAfee. He reveals that he's the one that put Ridge Holland up to taking out Adam Cole at TakeOver 31, and then he's interrupted by Kyle O'Reilly. Then a returning Pete Dunne comes out with chairs in hands, and he's been out since March, so that was a big deal for him to return here. He hands a chair to O'Reilly, and they get in the ring, and McAfee and Burch and Lorcan exit the ring, so it looks like the odds are evened here. But Dunne betrays O'Reilly and then aligns himself with McAfee, Burch, and Lorcan. They do a number on him, and they would go on to become known as the Kings of NXT, and this is going to be the setup for a match at NXT TakeOver War Games in December between them and the Undisputed Era. After that, we get another look at Cameron Grimes, who exits the building to an old white van pulls up. He gets spooked by the guy in the front seat, and he tries to get back in the building rather. Then the back door of the van opens up, and Michael P.S. Hayes hopped out while Bad Street USA played. That popped me. Love it. Big Freebirds fan. Grimes gets in the van finally, and it drives off before another commercial break. When we return, Jake Atlas is in the ring already, and then Legado del Fantasma makes their entrance. Santos Escobar will defend the Cruiserweight title here, and he's wearing gear that's inspired by Rey Mysterio's gear at WCW Halloween 97, which will be the next show that I cover here in 2 weeks. And it's also cool to see Escobar wearing those tights now, because in 2023, of course, we know Escobar and Rey are both members of the LWO. So that's just cool. This match was bad, though. Escobar won in 3 minutes and 28 seconds. I'd give it probably 1 star. It's just not enough time to tell a meaningful story. And, yeah, it didn't really have any drama, any back and forth, no psychology. It's just a few moves and then finish. After the match, we get another video package. This one's from Ember Moon. And honestly, it could have been cut completely to give Escobar and Atlas just a little bit more time. Not that that necessarily would have helped, but it couldn't have hurt. And this video package wasn't great. Ember cannot cut a promo, in my opinion, so not really a fan of that. She's great in ring, but promo skills, not so much. Next, Shotzi says that after the next break, the Haunted House of Terrors match is next. And then after that break, Shotzi throws to the match and let out a hellacious scream. I mean, my lord, that sounded crazy. So the Haunted House of Terror match was a cinematic match that featured Don't Chase the Dead by Marilyn Manson playing in the background. And if you're unfamiliar with the cinematic matches, or what I mean by that, think of AJ Styles versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania, the Boneyard match, things like that. The Hardy's compound match that they had in Impact. Yeah. Grimes gets out of the van and walks towards the house and is scared of everything in sight. He walks right past a tree that when he gets past it, we see that Loomis is actually in the tree, sitting in the tree watching. Then inside the house, a stuffed deer and then a tricycle that rolls by itself scare Grimes as Loomis stalks him from behind. There's a ref standing in the corner in one of the rooms, similar to how the guy is just standing in the corner in the Blair Witch Project. And then Loomis bursts through the door to scare Grimes again. The camera work is crazy during this match, during this part of the match, I should say. There's a filter on it. It's dark for cinematic effect. Loomis chases Grimes through the house until Grimes goes into a bathroom where he sees a woman's figure behind a shower curtain. He gets all excited, says he didn't know that Loomis had a sister. But when he opens the shower curtain, a freaky and scary contorted woman lunges at him, scares him again. Back outside the bathroom now, Loomis grabs Grimes and throws him through a window, or grabs him through a window, and continues to chase him. We see some more freaky-looking individuals, like zombies. One jumps on Grimes' back, and he runs outside and tosses her over a fence. More of the zombies chase Grimes, and he runs and gets in the van, but Loomis is in the driver's seat, so Grimes gets out and takes off running. Then the screen says, "To be continued." Yeah. Moving on. Next, we see the tail of the tape for Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. Their match is next. Rhea is out first and honestly gets a very nice pop from the few fans in attendance and the virtual fans. The noise is being piped in. After a commercial break, Raquel's making her way to the ring. These two are very evenly matched in the size and strength department, which is new to each of them. They're used to being, bigger and stronger than their opponents. There was an awesome spot in this one where Rhea was attempting a flipping senton from the ring apron to Raquel on the floor, but Raquel caught her, lifted her up in a powerbomb position, and then slammed her back into the chain link covered plexiglass barricade that separated the fans from ringside. That was great. After a commercial break, Raquel has full control back in the ring. Rhea does get the upper hand again, though, and it's her time to dominate for a while, but it's short-lived. Raquel was in control most of this match, but Rhea did hit Riptide finally and get the pinfall in just over 13 minutes. This one did get a star rating from Dave. He really liked it. He gave it 3 3/4 stars. I'd have to agree. It's pretty solid. After the match, we see Cameron Grimes. He's running down a street. Vic Joseph asked if he's running all the way back to the Capitol Wrestling Center. Then we go to another commercial break. Now, when we come back, time to laugh. Drake Maverick is dressed like Hollywood Hulk Hogan. He's calling Mackenzie Mitchell Mean Gene as she tries to interview him. And then Killian Dane is dressed as the Shockmaster. Very entertaining segment. Funny. I love Drake Maverick's character. He was hilarious. Cut to outside again, and Grimes finally arrives back at the CWC, and he falls down to catch his breath once he's inside in the prop graveyard that's at ringside. But then zombies start creeping towards him as he begs and pleads for them to stop. He gets in the ring, which is filled with fog, and the arena lighting is much darker themed now. The video boards, instead of having virtual fans on it, have got Halloween imagery on it, which is cool. I mean, it's an awesome look. And then Dexter Loomis appears back behind him in the ring. He hits a bulldog, a spine buster. He tosses a zombie on Grimes, and then hits silence. No ref or anything, but Grimes stops struggling finally, so Loomis just releases the hold, and his music hits. So I guess he wins. The zombies get in the ring after the match, and then it says the end across the screen. It's just not for me. I hate this kind of hokey stuff. I get it. It's professional wrestling. You can't take it too seriously because it's professional wrestling. It's entertainment. This just isn't entertaining to me, though. This is way too hokey. After the match, we get another video package. This one's for the Candice LeRae and Io Shirai match. And then Shotzi says that next she'll spin the wheel one last time. After the break, we get a graphic showing that this is the unlucky 13th Halloween Havoc. And then Tommaso Ciampa cuts a promo saying that he doesn't recognize NXT anymore. The attitude and culture is just different, and he's going to take it back starting next week with Velveteen Dream. He does have a line in there that is very appropriate for Velveteen Dream. He says something to the effect of, he's got all the talent in the world but can't get out of his own way. And if you're familiar with Velveteen Dream's downfall, that's exactly right. Uber talented, strap a rocket to him, he could have been the world champ in any promotion, but he turned out to be a real-life creep, allegedly, and his career is over. Candice LeRae makes her entrance next, and it's time for our main event. Poppy performs for Io's entrance, which honestly sucks because Io's got great entrance music, and the performance was awful. Shotzi spins the wheel, and it's a tables, ladders, and scares match. Io wastes no time going after a ladder about a minute into the match, and then Candice grabs a table. But when she pulls the table from under the ring, there's a bag on it. She grabs it and dumps out the contents, and it's prop body parts, arms, legs, a severed head, and kind of freaks her out. After Candice nails Io with a laptop off the announce table, she uses a ladder to bridge between the ring apron and the announce table, but eats a flying chair from Io before she can use it. After a commercial break, the two are battling at the entrance ramp area, and there's 2 tables now set up at ringside. The tables have body outlines, like chalk outlines on them, and also the ladders and tables are black and orange, so I think that's awesome. Nice attention to detail, very well done. Io places Candice on a pile of about 5 chairs in the ring and attempts a top rope moonsault, but Candice rolls out of the way, and then Io suplexes Candice on the seat part of a set-up chair in the ring, so some brutality early on. Or throughout this match, I should say. Candice is sitting up against a ladder in the corner after that, and Io charges in with the double knee strike, but Candice rolls out of the way, and Io crashes into the ladder. Later, Candice hits a swinging net breaker from the apron through the 2 tables at ringside on Io. And then the person that was dressed as Ghostface earlier does another run in. They run in, they pick up Candice, carry her up the ladder, but Shotzi's had enough of this. She runs in and evens the odds, takes out Ghostface, does an electric chair drop on that pile of chairs. Io gets back up and pushes over the ladder that has Candice seated atop it, and Candice crashes through the ladder that she set up as a bridge earlier. So then Io climbs the ladder, grabs the title, and she retains. Awesome match. Really good stuff. Meltzer agreed. It went 16 and a half minutes. He gave it 4 1/4 stars. I think that's absolutely spot on. This is one of the best matches. I mean, this is definitely the best match that I've ever seen from Candice LeRae or Io Shirai. Now, the fallout from Halloween Havoc on the next episode of NXT on 11/4 saw Cameron Grimes dispute the results of his quote-unquote match. He questioned if it was even a match. There was no ref, no bell, and he's still easily spooked. He's still scared about everything. And then later he lost his match because the quote zombie ref scared him. So the ref that was a zombie in the Haunted House of Terror is now back, and he's dressed normal. He's not a zombie at all, but Grimes recognized him, is scared, and Kushida beat him. Dexter Loomis and Cameron Grimes, they would continue their feud on throughout November. Also on that show, we got a vignette that showed Johnny Gargano getting a call from Ghostface, who was seated right beside him, but there was no reveal of who it was. Now, it later came out that it was supposed to be Indy Hartwell, who had been helping Candice lately, of course, gave her the brass knucks, helped her in the Battle Royal. And the Garganos were scouting. Johnny said that he's a fan of her. Maybe she could help the family. But she had COVID during this time. She couldn't make the events, so there was never really a proper reveal in a timely manner there. Gargano would go on to lose his North American title, for what it's worth, to Leon Ruff on the 11/11 episode. So just about a 10-day reign there, or 2-week reign, sorry. All right, let's get into the superlatives here. The fun part of the show. The RVD 5-star moment of the match, I've got to give it to the main event. Io Shirai and Candice LeRae, they easily had the best match of the night, although the award could easily go to production because the set design, the way that they perfectly captured Halloween and paid homage to Halloween Havoc, they definitely did it right. It was all just so perfect. But that main event, that match was incredible. The Shockmaster Award. Even though Killian Dane and Drake Maverick had a Shockmaster mask involved in their segment, it was too good for this award. Remember, the Shockmaster Award is a shockingly bad moment of the show. That was not bad at all. That was awesome. So I'm going to give it to the Haunted House of Terror match. Just not my kind of stuff. Did not like it. And Cameron Grimes and Dexter Lumis are too talented to, kind of be wasted like that. My opinion. Also this week, I'm going to introduce a new superlative. JR's Cowboy Hat. I'm going to give this award to the best line on commentary from each show. So the inaugural JR's Cowboy Hat is going to go to Wade Barrett and Vic Joseph, because during that Haunted House of Terror match, when it was over, Wade Barrett asked Vic, "Is that your hand on my leg, Vic?" And Vic went, "What? No." And Wade said, "Oh my word." It was hilarious. It was something so silly, so short, and it popped me because after watching that Haunted House of Terror match, I was annoyed, but then that commentary line just brought me right back in. So the overall grade for the show, listen, I like this event a lot. It's not perfect, but it's very good. Even the Haunted House of Terror match was appropriate for Halloween. It had Halloween elements in it that made it tolerable. It's just not for me. So top to bottom, this show is enjoyable, especially considering it came on the USA Network. So, could have been a treat for people that don't get to watch all the PLEs. I'm going to give this show a B+. Very solid. Now, on the next episode, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going back to 1997. This will be the 5th time I visit that year, so I'll try to spread it out more going forward. Just so happens 1997 has won some polls and is a very good year in professional wrestling. This time I'll be covering WCW Halloween Havoc 1997. This show features Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero in a very memorable match. You see clips from this match all the time. It was awesome. As well as on the card, you've got Macho Man Randy Savage versus Diamond Dallas Page in a Las Vegas sudden death match. In the main event of Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus Rowdy Roddy Piper in a steel cage match. So be on the lookout for that episode in a couple of weeks. Be sure to give me a follow on Twitter at @LoreOfTheRing_. My personal Twitter at DMFrank_. Be sure to chat with me on there. I love to engage with all the feedback I get. Send me some messages. That's always fun. Be sure to tell your Mark and Jabroni friends to subscribe. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Apple, Spotify, you name it. Wherever you want to listen to a podcast, you can most likely find. And yeah, leave me some reviews. Spread the word. Keep tuning in. I appreciate you all. And with that, NXT Halloween Havoc 2020 is down for the 3 count. And so long from the Volunteer State.